Copyright struck immediately. That's all I got.
That's pretty cool. I like it. Earlier, Dean, I don't know if you heard it. He was playing and then immediately rolled into what's the name of the song?
Blue da dee.
He was like,
Also in the same key.
da-ba-dee-da-be-da. I was like, what?
Anyways,
Famously by the
also
Blue
in the same
Man
key.
Group.
The Blue Man Group. Yeah, then got a Vegas show out of that.
Is that actually? Wait, was it? By
No,
the
it was
Blue
by
Man-
Eiffel 65, which is not a French band.
Eiffel 65.
Yeah. I believe they're like from the Netherlands or something like that.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the podcast. We got Dean with us today.
What up?
Hi, Dean.
How you doing, Dean?
I'm doing great, man. You know, I'm a little cold under. Oh wait, we just turned.
We
off
just
the
turned it
AC.
off. Yeah,
I
I
literally
came
got
in and
this
was like,
jacket.
it's freezing.
I'm taking this off, dude. Getting real.
The weighted jacket's coming off.
All right, guys. What do you think about the Minecraft trailer, huh?
Oh my god.
Oh jeez.
So okay, we recorded a React episode yesterday, and we had a whole alien themed episode like planned for it. We looked at Aliens, or as Niko says, Aliens 2. We looked at like Prometheus.
Aliens
and,
also.
Aliens also.
Was it like Aliens back from the planet? No, never mind. And we looked at a lot of Romulus.
Yeah.
So that was a whole cool thing, but we started off the whole thing looking at the Minecraft trailer and the How to Train Your Dragon trailer.
It was like an emergency drop.
It was a little bit
Yes.
because the trailers had literally just dropped 1 hour before we started
1
filming
hour.
the React episode. So I was
Yeah.
like, guys, we gotta get in on this.
Well, what'd you guys think?
Ren and I had a pretty heated argument.
I just couldn't believe, oh my God, Niko, I just couldn't believe how like, I don't know, it's...
Which movie though?
Oh,
It's
for Minecraft. So we looked at the Minecraft
But, I
trailer,
mean-
and Jordan and I had a similar reaction of like, okay, I mean, it looks pretty, like visually, it looks very striking and interesting. And I was like, I like the references they had to like various things people in Minecraft would do, like making a whole chicken farm type
Yes,
thing.
it felt very like they were
Felt more
responding
Minecraft.
to the response to the first trailer was kind of like, this is nothing like the game. So the second trailer was just like, hey, remember this from the game? Hey, remember this from the game? That's how it kind of felt to me.
Yeah.
And Niko, perhaps unsurprisingly, hated it.
I didn't really vibe with it.
What
Yeah.
I mean, because they kind of in other ways they kind of doubled down on the first trailer because it starts with the hey, I'm Steve line,
Mm-hmm.
which became kind of a meme after
They
the
did
first
drop
trailer.
a pretty deep cut like Minecraft reference though, with like children yearn for the mines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think this is dumb, but like the only the big gripe holding me back is the squareness, the lack of commitment.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, Niko's whole thing was that like, at least as far as I could remember from our very, very heated argument about it, was like you didn't like that there wasn't a justification for everything being blocky other than it just being Minecraft. Like you're saying that Minecraft wasn't a good enough reason for everything being cube based and the lack of consistency with cubes.
Because that's what I still don't understand from the trailer is that clearly there's like this this character.
Hi, Sam.
I'm Sam. This character,
podcast.
Jason Momoa's character is like he's like a video game. He was like
Minecraft.
Yeah.
yeah. Here you go. He's
The
got
trailer
words.
is a little bit better than the teaser.
Ooh, there you go.
I think it's going to be a little bit more entertaining. That teaser was probably one of the worst teasers released in history. But the trailer's decent. I feel like I'm like, okay, it's just less dumb now. You know, it's like funnier. It's funnier dumb now. With
I
like
can feel the funness. In
yeah,
it.
it's like
I can feel the
baby
lightheartedness.
Jack Black wanting to go into a real mine, and like that's the story. I'm like, okay, no, that's what I'm down for. Like, I want, you know, the future is everyone is in a mine. So that's it.
But that's
We're
what I
all
don't get
Minecraft.
is does Minecraft the game exist in this movie?
That's what Niko was asking during the session.
That's a good question. And I think the danger is like trying to assume any like story points and like that. Ren articulated what I think I was saying yesterday, but I feel like I've refined my viewpoints since then.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, like I don't know why the world is blocky, and the trailer does not really tell us why the world is blocky. But I think it's more that I feel like it's almost like a visual inconsistency to the whole thing that feels a little weird. It's kind of like when video game movies were being made back in like the late 90s, and it'd be like, why are these people making this movie? Like, this guy's never touched a video game in his life. This art style's all over the place. I'm not saying that Jared hasn't played Minecraft, the director of the movie. He probably has played a bunch of Minecraft, and he's made a lot of great movies. And like a lot of the stuff in the movie looks fun and goofy and like exactly what I'd kind of want to see from a director like him. But I think the world just feels very arbitrarily square to look like Minecraft, and it feels like that's about as deep as the squareness went of the art design. Maybe the story has more justification, but the art design just feels like everybody was instructed to make things kind of look like Minecraft, but make it look prettier. And you can, if you want to make the squares a little bit smaller, whatever, go for it, as long as it kind of looks blocky. And it's like, that just feels like the most shallow approach to why things could be blocky in this world, or why they should look blocky. I don't know. It's so loose.
Yeah.
It's so loose with the design language. It feels like, muddy with the intent.
It's like mine. Yeah, no, go for it.
I feel like the rebuttal to that is that, like, I think there has to be a little bit of like benefit of the doubt being applied here, because I'm imagining, because your explanation or your argument was that like there needs to be some sort of justification, and I'm thinking, and honestly giving benefit of the doubt, that justification is in the movie. I thought it was in the trailer, but really when we went back and replayed it, Jack Black was like, you can make anything you want as long as it's a block. And I realized, well, that's, I guess, not a reason really, but an operating
That's just
method.
a parameter.
A parameter, yeah. I don't know. I found myself being more intrigued, especially after learning that the director's the same guy who did Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, so that's why
Nacho
Jack.
Libre.
That's why Jack Black's in it.
So
That's
there's like, I'm hoping that his vision will give it a little bit of that sort of dry humor edge that something like this could really benefit from, rather than just being purely like kids movie.
Yeah, like Sam was saying, I think like baby Jack Black going into a real mine, that feels very like surreal and weird in the kind of Napoleon Dynamite style. But yeah, I am really bothered by because I feel like there was a version of this movie. Like I think the best analog is the Lego movie, because Minecraft for a lot of kids is like what Lego was back in the day.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like there was such a cool opportunity. I've never seen a big animated film that's used like pixel art as, like a big Hollywood released animated film that's all pixel art. And, there's just like Lego, there's so many incredible things that people have built in Minecraft with just blocks, like Helm's Deep.
Just blocks.
They built Helm's Deep, or they built, whatever it is. And the mentality with the Lego movie was, they were like, instead of looking at Pixar, we're going to look at Lego fan films as the kind of aesthetic that we're going for.
I think you're putting into words what I was failing to do, which is like, yeah, imagine the Lego movie, except the art direction was, it just needs to have square corners, kind of.
Yeah.
They don't have to be Lego pieces. You can make whatever you want as long as it's kind of blocky.
Well,
that's what it feels like Minecraft's art direction's like.
It'd be like if all the characters in Lego movie could like bend their joints.
Yeah.
Like it would take away all of the charm of them like bouncing up and down in that very staccato fashion.
So, I mean, more like the Lego games.
Yeah, like the Lego games. It's like they're all bendy. Or even, it's the real world, but there's like nubs on everything. That's kind of how it feels with the Minecraft movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I watched like all the graphics of the movie and all like the it feels like a really nice updated like shader pack.
Yeah,
it
RTX.
feels like everything I'm saying or everything I'm seeing, all the different blocks still have some sort of original block counterpart from the game.
It
feels
feel
that way from what I've seen.
It feels like people are like the artist is there like designing the apple or the tree. They're like, it's just a cube. It looks too basic. I need to make it prettier arbitrarily. Oh, I'll round the corners and make it shiny. It's like, this tree, like 3 blocks. What am I gonna do with 3 blocks? I can make it look pretty. You know what? They're cool with it if I make some tinier blocks and kind of just make it a little bit busier around the base of the tree. Okay, that's better. That satisfies
the only blocks I saw that didn't seem to be consistent in scale, other than like the normal 3 blocks per height, as far as the movie has established, were just dirt blocks. Everything else had like all the wood blocks that weren't the correct size have counter blocks in the game for that. but it was just like dirt to kind of give it a little bit more of a even ground, like a smooth hill type look.
But even though like the pixelated blocky sword was like smooth and rounded on the top.
Dude, the sword bothered me more than anything else.
Really?
Because I was just like, this is it's like almost just a sword. Like it's not.
I like
it. Just feels like it feels like somebody you shows me a picture of Minecraft. And he said make it kind of look like give it the. Feels like they. No, I shouldn't say it.
I mean, we only ever see like the sword from the game like in 2D. Really, is it really have a flat edge?
It shouldn't be rounded on the top, like the top of an F-16 jet. Like it's got like the round. Yeah, I don't know.
I thought personally, I thought that was a really cool touch. I liked the sword a lot.
It might be really justified by the story. Jack Black might have this weird thing about cubes, and like in his imagination, he pushes everything into squares, and maybe it justifies why things are kind of rounded or the squares aren't quite consistent. Like,
dude, what if the theme is like growing outside of what the box society is forcing you into?
Oh, shoot me.
Or what if it's Squarespace sponsored this movie?
It's just a huge Squarespace.
It's just
ad.
one big Squarespace ad.
Oh my god. Yeah, missed opportunity, Squarespace.
But
yeah, I was about to say,
I feel like again, kind of like referencing the Lego movie, like the Lego movie, it knew you could never get around it being a Lego movie. So they made like Lego part of like the Lego brand as part of the movie.
Fully committed. Like even the fire and the water was still Lego pieces.
But I mean like they are Lego pieces. Like you find out, spoilers, you find out in the movie they are actually, a Lego set.
Yeah.
And I feel like this movie could have really benefited from like, they're just going into Minecraft or something, because like otherwise it's like you're saying, Niko, it's just like this part where he's just like, everything must be a block, even though this dog is not a block.
Yeah, and even though the blocks are totally arbitrary, the flowers are blocks, kind of, but they're still round and they're also not on a grid and they're different sizes all the time. Like, I don't know. Yeah, the dirt, it's kind of blocky, but not super blocky. In the distance, the giant like canyon piece. Big blocks. Why not? It's Minecraft.
What do you mean
blocks.
big blocks? Wait,
go back to that shot.
Like
in that big wide shot, when you're like Minecraft land, they show you that big shot. There's like this land bridge. There's big blocks there.
Those are big blocks made of smaller blocks.
I know, but still, Minecraft doesn't have big blocks like that in it. It just doesn't.
That actually is a good point. It's more naturally shaped in the game.
It feels like an artist looking at it and being like, I need to make it prettier. I guess I'll just make it busier, as opposed to being like, no, my constraint is I truly have to only work with voxels that are all the same size. Let me truly see what I can do to make this beautiful while living within this world.
That is still exactly what they did. They made that whole mountainside out of specifically the same size blocks, but those big, like macro scale blocks, the bigger ones, that's just art direction. And maybe
look at that wall right there. With all the arbitrary, like the mine shaft walls, like. What are those blocks? They're like halfway in and out of each other.
Okay,
yeah, they're like elongated.
Like, they're not like nothing's on grid. And once again, it's a movie. I get it. It's like it's Minecraft IRL kind of, But this is where once again, it feels so muddy. The design just feels so muddy and like uncommitted to Minecraft.
I will say
I don't know. I feel like this is a pretty good commitment to Minecraft. I'm seeing everything and I'm just like, those just look like really good graphics for the blocks I'm used to. The mineshaft being like slightly out of grid, like a block is like half on one block. That is a very good point. That is a very good point.
It just feels like their answer to a design challenge was always to step away from the design.
So here's the alternative for that moment. Let's say they do stay on grid. If you can pause on that mineshaft, the redstone in the foreground. The blocks in the background are slightly like skewed, right? As if their position modifier is set to random a little bit on the X and Y. And if it was to be on grid, maybe it made the background look less interesting. Maybe they did try that first. But
then doesn't that just come down like, so make it more interesting without violating the design language?
Yeah, with textures and
like if somebody's like, oh, I gotta come up with a new lightsaber for Star Wars. I know this one will be curved. It's like, no, don't do that. You can't just change the design language and call it innovation and make it better. Like, no, like live. Challenge
Dude, watch there
breeds
actually
creativity.
be like curved lightsabers we don't know about.
There's a billion of them already. There's been a million people who've had to pull that card already.
But like in official canon?
Oh, I'm sure. There's comics, games.
I think
Yeah.
what you're saying, Niko, is really like the design decisions. They come downstream from like you can feel the uncanniness of it comes downstream from like larger decisions they're probably making about the movie.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of intuit what the movie thinks of Minecraft based on what the designs are.
That's a bit of the vibe. Yeah, that's the vibe. And I'm being really harsh. I'm being so harsh because this is a podcast and, you know, I'm just putting it all out there and being raw. But I'm just some dude on the internet,
I love
you know?
this shot though.
Oh, that's
shot's
fun.
great.
I didn't even
Yeah,
notice that.
That shot is great.
The shot where Jason Momoa is like down in the basement and there's a big hole above him with guys with arrows shooting him.
Ah, but that sword, it's smooth. It's smooth. It's sharpened.
It's a real thing.
Yeah. It's like
I have absolutely no problem with that. I actually really like
You
the
know,
design language of that sword.
99.9% of people have no problem with any of these things I'm talking about. I am like so far down to like deep nerd alley here that like none of what I'm saying would have any impact on the financials of this film whatsoever. Like it's like me and maybe a couple other people kind of care.
I don't
maybe.
know. Like, do
I
you
don't know.
think this movie? I reckon it'll probably do pretty well, but
It's gonna do great. It's
But,
gonna make
like,
$1 bajillion.
I don't know if it's gonna reach that like Super Mario Bros. Movie level because I think
how much you want to bet it's going to
it's-
crush Super Mario Bros?
It's gonna
no,
It's gonna get a bajillion views, and kids are gonna watch it a bajillion times because it's the prettiest. Look,
Kids
you've
these days are
seen
more
the
into Minecraft.
The
than
Minecraft
Mario.
content that gets 100 million views
I-
on YouTube. This
Yeah.
is so much prettier than that. It's gonna get
Yeah.
a billion views.
But I don't. We'll see. I guess. But I think there was something about the Super Mario movie trailer came out because people kind of had that reaction when they were the reaction we're having to this when they announced that like Chris. There's so many Chris's.
Pratt.
Chris Pratt was Mario, and everybody was like, "Oh, here we go." But that first trailer came out, and they're like, "Oh, they did it! They did it! They did a Mario movie! Like this is
Mhm.
exactly what we wanted."
Yeah,
I feel like they've definitely missed that window here.
this doesn't feel like a Minecraft. Like this isn't what I imagined. Yeah, I don't think this is what most people imagined.
this feels
I don't-
like
I don't know about that.
off brand in a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, like it feels
Yeah.
like
I could see it feeling off brand. I can see that. But at the same time, I imagine that being a very hard challenge. How do you ride that line between like
well, you know what it is? It's because I guess because you're having all of these famous celebrities jammed into the world of Minecraft, and it feels like a bit of an outside view of Minecraft, a bit of a Gen X view of a Gen Z franchise. You know what I mean?
It's also feeling a little bit like it feels like Jumanji. It feels like they could be in any game. You know, like did
Yeah.
this have to be in Minecraft? Is this a story that required it to be in Minecraft, or could it have been any guy's imagination world where they go on adventures in? You know, like why is this one specifically Minecraft?
Yeah, unless like squares and all of the sort of like core player experiences of playing Minecraft are like a big part of the plot of this movie. It feels like it could have been any game franchise.
Yeah.
It's like one of those movies that was written and then they're like, all right, let's find the franchise to link into this.
I don't know. I bet once we actually see the full movie and realize how many situations are solved by uniquely Minecraft things.
Yeah.
It'll make more sense. Like, and that's what we saw with the Lego movie. They kept doing things that were like, oh, that was a distinctly and uniquely Lego thing to do, and they whipped it out as a solution to their problem.
Yeah.
I imagine we'll see a lot of that. What I'm really hoping is that in like the third act of this Minecraft movie, we'll actually start seeing some very cool, like big contraptions and machines that are complicated, and you just go, wow, how can someone just make this? Like those sort of things,
Yeah.
and that'll be like the big thing to save everything. It'd be cool to kind of see that, like to really kind of feed upon like what Minecraft is as a player.
But the only thing that the
Why is the end of
counterpoint to
Pearl a
that,
sphere? Sorry, I just read that comment.
the only
It's just-
thing
I mean,
that I have as a counter to that is that they really seem to be tying it into like arcade games. Like Jason Momoa's character is like as a kid, he was like really good at arcade games. That's kind of one of the
Mm.
plot points.
sure.
And I feel like Minecraft is much more equatable to Lego and stuff like that. Like it is a video game, but it's much more like a sandbox for kids, you know? But yeah.
100%.
Well, at the end of the day, it feels like I'm going on and on about like critiquing like a Yoshi game. It's like being an IGN reviewer. It's like 40. It's like Yoshi's Crafted World leaves a lot to be desired. 6 out of 10. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, should we talk about How to Train Your Dragon?
Oh boy.
So I've never seen the original How to Train Your Dragon.
Really?
Yeah, neither have I.
Both
actually.
of you guys?
Yeah.
Which
neither have
You either?
No, I did the best.
Oh, okay.
I believe because Lilo and Stitch is one of my favorite movies, and I believe the creator of Lilo and Stitch is one of the co-creators of How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh wow. Okay.
And they just made the Wild Robot, or he just made the Wild Robot,
Ooh, Wild Robot was good.
which was
Oh, I
amazing.
still
Wild
have to
Robot's
see Wild Robot.
incredible.
Yeah. Oh, you wouldn't see it? Saw it?
It's so good.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Anyway, I don't want to take away from this movie coming out
So-
right now, but
The obvious question when watching this trailer is simply why?
yep.
It's the most common question. I feel like it's got a fairly obvious answer.
Money.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a bad thing. The answer is money.
Of course.
Yeah, 100%. It's an economic reason to make this movie because people will go watch it
First
Yep.
thing that
It's been
jumps out
proven
to
already,
me is
many times.
this kid feels way too old. Feels like he's like a 28-year-old dude.
Really?
Like when I look at him,
Really?
he feels like a kind of an older guy. Like he should be a little kid,
Well, also,
in my opinion.
Jay Baruchel did such a good voice acting in the actual thing. I don't
Yeah.
know how this kid's gonna do.
Which is that's also interesting. They got Gerard Butler because he does the voice of the dad in the
And he is
How
not
to
a
Train
dad.
Your Dragon, which makes it even weirder and more meta.
Yeah, I got the same guy.
They
But
got the
not for
same guy.
not the same kid.
Because what I don't understand is, like, why does Disney and all these companies frame it as like, well, you had your animated film. Now we're gonna do it for real, as if like, somebody, Zach Mulligan, who came into the studio to talk about the animation industry recently. He has a video where he's talking about 7% of Hollywood releases are animated films, but they make up 25% of the box office returns
wow.
of Hollywood. And
It's
you look
crazy.
every year, it's like one of the top movies. Again, Mario movie made like $1.5 billion. And
I was like, wait, why aren't you making more of those?
Yeah. and so when I see it, like when I see a live action How to Train Your Dragon, or really the worst ones are the live action Disney remakes, it's like they're almost saying that the animated film it didn't matter in the way that this live action version is going to matter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It does
Like-
have that weird vibe to it.
Like,
It's like yours wasn't good enough, or like you guys did such a good job, we're just gonna copy you and do it again.
or even the live action like Last Airbender show.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if they're saying like, well, that was a good proof of concept for like, now we're doing the real thing. But at the end of the day, it really is just, how I see it is, how do we do a re-release of the animated film but make it so that people want to go see it again? Oh, we'll just shoot it in live action.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so it's different.
Well, I mean, I get the sort of frustration over that, but at the same time, apparently there's still millions of people who are like, yeah, I'd be down to go see that. And then they do, and the studio makes their money, and that's like a self-affirming process. And they're like, I guess we'll keep doing that.
That's
Yeah.
very true, and a lot of people probably really like it, and like, I've also heard like they have like the same writer on it. I think it's like one of the animators, like one of the directors is involved. Like, but I don't know the details exactly off the top of my head here, but I read that a lot of the same team or some of the same team is back for the live action one. Some of the people responsible for the first one.
So here's the thing. The
That's
first
cool.
movie is incredible. How to Train Your Dragon is a legitimately good movie. And if this movie is basically the same exact movie, but it looks fancier, I don't really have a problem with that. It's still going to be a good movie. I came up with a really good, as far as I'm concerned, metaphor for this. It feels like any video game that's got a remaster done. It's like it comes out 10, 20 years later with updated graphics, but it's the same game. This kind of feels like that. And
But-
I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. If people really enjoy the movie, but they want to see it with better graphics.
I guess that's what I
Yeah.
take issue with, is like saying it's fancier, or that it's still kind of indicating that it's like a quote better version of the original movie, which I think is like a disservice to the artists who worked on the original, because it's like it's an animated
I
film.
don't disagree with you on that.
You know what I mean? Like it's an animated film, and it is meant to live in that animated aesthetic. And some of the storytelling decisions can only be made in animation. And I'd go back to the Last Airbender live action versus the animation is like so much of that original cartoon was about especially the action scenes are things that people can't do and look kind of goofy when real people do that. Like all of the bending like looks really dumb when real people try to do it, but when you can have an animated character do it, I almost think sometimes the same thing about superheroes, but anyway.
100%. So another thing I've noticed about the movie is that it's not just an animated film, it's a 3D animated film. It's an actual rendered movie, not like hand-drawn like Mulan and Lion King and Jungle Book and all those movies that were getting live action adaptations. What other examples are there of a CG animated movie that got a live action adaptation?
Well, Disney's working on a bunch of them right now.
I don't think there are any yet. I think this is the first one.
See, that's why I can't think of any others either.
Because Disney's working on, they're doing Moana live action, they're doing Lilo and Stitch live action, and they've put out, I don't know if they...
But Lilo and Stitch was also an animated film, not like a CG. It
Moana.
had CG in it, and I understand it was like
But Moana would
full
have
CG.
Sorry.
a modern 2D animated...
I'd be honestly more into live action movies if they weren't telling the exact same story of the original movies. Like, I don't need to see like another Spider-Man origin story. I don't need to see another Batman origin story. Assuming it's the same Bruce Wayne is a child, his parents dies. Like if it's the same story, I've seen it too many times now. I don't care.
Mulan
And to me,
was
like,
basically a different story.
The movie Mulan?
Yeah,
Or the live action
action.
Mulan?
kind of. It was still her origin story. Like
Sure.
we saw the origin story. It's like we don't need to do the origin story 100 times. Like I don't know. Like I was thinking, like there's a bunch of live action versions of animated films that'd be super cool to see. The more I think about it, like it'd be cool to see that world brought to life or this world brought to life. But when I think about it, if it's just the exact same movie I already saw, hitting the same, like telling me the same character arc, that's where I fall out of interest.
Yeah.
I think doing live action like reimaginings or inspirations or passion projects is great, but I would just rather have them do more in that world rather than going back and be like, oh, you love that film? Let me do that again. Because it's tough because I'm sure people love the film and there's people that are going to watch it that love it. And there's, a lot of labors of love in the making of a film like this. But there's also part of it that feels really emotionally manipulative where it's like, oh,
yeah,
you liked that film. So if I copy it, you'll go see this one because you liked that one. It's like, if you love your mommy, you'll do this for me. It's got that vibe to it a little bit, and like that part, like inside of me, that's like really cynical. And it sees that where it's like, you love that first How to Train Your Dragon. You'll check this one out.
Yeah.
I know you will. You'll be interested because you loved that first one. We haven't earned your love on this one yet, Yeah. And so it's like, it's a little like, ugh.
But it's also like there's probably a film you could make that is live action that's like How to Train Your Dragon. And it doesn't have to be How to Train Your Dragon. It can be Viking Kid dragon movie that they take a new direction on. But just because of the state of Hollywood, it's like, they're like, should we do that and take a risk, or just we'll tie it directly
here's exactly
to
what
this
would
franchise?
happen if that happened, right? Studio takes a risk and tries to make an original story that's kind of similar to this. They're like, oh, like this is a really cool thing. Let's adapt it, but let's make it our own. It comes out, the reviews are all like, this is basically just live action How to Train Your Dragon. It sucks, 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about like
And
Iron
it's like,
Giant.
well, there went the risk that you just proved to us yet again why we shouldn't do this.
Like live action Iron Giant. I could see that working.
Actually,
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, do we need it? I guess no.
Again, I feel like that it's such an like these are very archetypal stories, these like children's animated films that I feel like you could just take that archetype and do. But yeah, it's just a larger complaint about Hollywood just doesn't do anything original.
Also, there's so much of a vibe that comes from like an animated film that like I think we were talking about a moment ago. It's like it's almost impossible to replicate that IRL. Dean, I think you're saying this, and I think a good example for that would be Dragon Ball Z.
Ooh, yeah.
As an anime, super cool. I loved it growing up. I still think it's pretty sweet. I haven't really followed any of the Dragon Ball.
Wait, no, you can make a
Super
Dragon Ball Z movie. Just no one's had the balls to do it.
Well, okay, but my point is that like
it would
so
have to
much of
be
what makes
animated.
that epic is like how they're able to like transform, fly around, and like so much of how like the pacing of the cutting and how they're able to hide them going super fast by just using streaks in the air. And the live action version to kind of do that, there have been many versions, and I think Man of Steel kind of came the closest to what a DBZ fight would look like.
No,
Maybe
yeah.
Matrix.
You have to make it like your anime fidget
Revolutions?
spinners movie or video.
Say what?
You have to make it like your anime fidget spinners video.
Sure.
Or self-driving
Yeah.
cars. It's like you can't make it real.
But that's what people think you would have to do if you're going to do it for real, you know? I
Yeah.
think
And is also
We just
part
need-
of the like what's fun
Like
about those
exhausting for 90 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah. like what's fun about those videos in a movie like I'm forgetting the name of the movie. Clint always talks about these movies. There's like the soccer movie. Do you remember this one?
Oh, Shaolin Soccer.
Shaolin Soccer. And then there's another one that the director made but they're kind of, it's like hilarious, you know? It's wacky and funny, but like Dragon Ball Z, it does take itself almost to a fault. It takes itself very seriously.
I think that's why it works.
And there's no world where there's a real dude with Goku's hair
yeah.
that's going like where you're not dying laughing. But when it's animated, it's so sick, you know? So I feel like you could do a modern animated, even maybe partially CG animated like
Just
Dragon
to be
Ball Z
clear,
movie.
animated Dragon Ball Z is also still goofy and funny. Just put it out there. The guy's
Yes,
ripped and he's
totally.
got bright
Oh,
brown
for
hair.
sure.
But like,
See, that's the thing.
the
But
live action films need to also embrace that and be like, you have to realize you're being a little funny.
Like there's camp. Yeah.
yeah. Which
Well, yeah.
honestly, live action Japanese films have gotten that right.
Yes.
They've nailed that aspect. Like, this is funny.
well, and maybe
Maybe
that's
keep a straight face. Like Godzilla's that basically.
like, and maybe that's the, like you watch this Minecraft trailer or whatever. It's like they're not embracing the camp. They're still doing that Marvel thing of like, they're like, we get it. We're with you, audience. Like, this is weird. This is, and it's all like, it's that whole like, the characters being like, oh yeah, that just happened thing where it's the characters are trying to be in with the audience being like, I don't know what the heck's going on. But I feel like in Japanese stuff, it's just like, or even I remember back to Jason Momoa, they did the Aquaman. The first Aquaman movie is like full camp.
Oh.
There's a scene where there's like a octopus playing the drums and the camera just kind of passes it by, but they never cut back to like Jason Momoa being like, what the heck was that? They just like, it's just there and you're like, that's fucking rad. You know, like they don't have to doubt everything that they do. But so yeah, needs a little bit more of that.
We recorded a very long React session yesterday. I almost said last night. It was actually last night.
it
went into
ended last night after our normal workday ends.
We did
Rare.
Aliens, as Wren said, Aliens Covenant, Prometheus, Romulus. But on the topic of remakes and sequels and all that stuff. So Aliens is a sequel to Alien. Alien was directed by Ridley Scott, one of his earlier films.
Mhm.
James Cameron had... So it's a really interesting thing that happened here with the storyline. And I think it speaks to like the ideal scenario for a sequel, like how you most want a sequel or remake to happen. So James Cameron was writing Terminator. He had just made a movie called Piranha 2, which did really well. Did really well for like a horror movie or whatever, a
Was it
slasher
Piranha
movie.
2 or Piranha 3?
Piranha 2.
Oh, okay.
Did he direct that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I should check it out. I haven't seen it. But he made Piranha 2. It did well. And they're like, all right, start writing a script. He's like, I got this idea for Terminator. Like, that's cool. I like Terminator. You're doing a great job writing the script. Ridley Scott, this guy right here, he's killing it. Alien made a lot of money. We need some help deving up a sequel. Could you write some Aliens 2 for us? Actually, can you just write a lot of things for us? You're a good writer. He's like, sure. And so he was working on Rambo. He's working on Aliens. He's working on Terminator. And finally, like, all right, time to shoot Terminator. Green light and Terminator. He's like, awesome.
Dang, so he wrote Aliens before he directed Terminator?
He started writing Aliens before he directed Terminator.
Wow.
And so he was working on Rambo also before he got moved to Aliens. And Rambo is why Aliens is the way it is. It's why we have modern sci-fi. Because as he was moving on to Aliens, he was like, you know, it'd be cool. You know, no one's ever done like Vietnam, like grunts in space.
Yeah.
And he single-handedly invented the whole idea of like soldiers in space.
Like Space Marines. Yeah.
Space Marines, just in general, like every single game you play these days, every single movie you watch, anytime there's like a dude with a gun in space who's like part of an army, just wasn't a thing until Aliens.
Yeah, because in Star Wars, it's very goofy. Like the
Yeah.
stormtroopers and they have blasters and stuff.
Yeah,
but
they have
it's-
lasers and things like that. I
it's
mean, yeah,
not-
they have like troops, but like,
which is interesting.
But
but
again,
they're like
it's
they're like
the-
sci-fi space troops. They're not like I'm a grunt with my boots and my helmet and my gun.
Yeah, it's
you
like
know?
more on the Buck Rogers spectrum.
Yeah,
Which is interesting because like the design, like mentality going into Star Wars was like, we want this to be dirty, we want this to be lived in. But it wasn't like Alien was really the movie that's like real people,
Mhm.
like more hard sci-fi in space. Because like the first movie is very much like the kind of junk crew on the Nostromo is the original ship.
Nostromo.
But the
Think so?
yeah, but like you're saying, the second movie then takes it to like also real world soldiers who are just like regular people, you know.
Yeah. So James Cameron, was like, all right, grunts in space. What if he had Vietnam soldiers, but they're in a spaceship? He's like, I really like that vibe. And clearly he does, because that's still what Avatar is at this point, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, I really, really like that vibe. And then the studio's like, hey, you ready to go shoot Terminator? Script's greenlit, go off and shoot. He's like, okay. So he goes off and shoots Terminator, finishes Terminator. It comes out, and it's a huge hit. And everyone's like, James Cameron, you can do whatever you want. James Cameron's like, I really like these like army dudes in space idea, even though it's a sequel to some other dude's project that I was doing as a hired gig. I really like this idea. And so he went and shot Aliens 2 as his next project after Terminator.
Aliens 2, everyone.
Sorry. Aliens. Aliens also.
I called it out at the beginning of the podcast.
Bad naming convention.
Well,
Anyways.
actually, if you think about it, it's kind of the most brilliant marketing because the first Alien, look how fucking terrifying the xenomorph is. It's the scariest thing ever. And then the second movie is just aliens. And now there's a billion aliens. That's kind of also the other side of his pitch for that movie is just like, what if there's just a ton of them now?
This was also back in the day when there weren't that many sequels compared to like today.
Yeah.
And so you didn't often get the naming schemes that Aliens did. It's like,
Yeah.
was there, I assume there were probably other movies that like their sequel had an interesting play on words title as opposed to just like movie 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
What
it
year
wasn't
did-
like Jaws's.
What year did Jaws? What year? There is an alternate universe where the second Jaws was just like a bunch of sharks instead. But what year did Aliens come out? Because
1986.
okay, so that's after the
7,
entire
8 years.
Star
that's
Wars?
after the entire Star Wars
Yeah.
trilogy.
Didn't Jedi come out in 88?
No, it was 83.
Jedi came out in 83?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I wonder, what were those at the time? Were those movies called like Episode 5, or was it just Star
Yeah, it
Wars
was episode 5.
Empire Strikes Back? So in the movie, it's called Episode 5.
Mhm.
That's so crazy.
Because George Lucas is like, I want to make this feel bigger. Oh, I'll name it a chapter in the middle of a story.
Yeah,
That was the reasoning. He didn't have 1, 2, and 3 written or anything like that. He just,
that's
that sounds bigger if I
crazy.
call it episode 4.
But yeah, what if it was like Alien Chapter 6 was the second movie? We'd be in a very different world.
He's committed to like backlogging all 2 through 4 and 5 now.
But your point in like talking about that sort of space grunt iconography, you showed us a shot of the ship in Aliens 2, where the ship's flying in, and I immediately was like, that's the Pillar of Autumn.
I was about to say, like Halo, like I grew up with Halo, and
Yeah.
I didn't realize because I watched Alien after Halo, and
Yep,
I'm like,
me too.
oh, this is just Alien.
Yep. That was my exact reaction when I was watching the movie. I was like, holy crap, this is Halo 1. This is
Yeah.
all Halo 1.
And so I said, that's just the Pillar of Autumn. And Nico's like, interesting you say that. And he opens up an image of the Pillar of Autumn that he had pre-prepared, not knowing I was going to natty call it out the moment I saw the ship.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he had other
I had a whole slideshow
parallels.
ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I never like elites are literally like the xenomorphs.
Yeah. And
Like, they got
Sarge is literally Sarge, like straight up the same guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
With the same
Same
name.
name. Halo, he has more of a name as opposed to just Sarge.
Yeah.
And then Master
Sergeant
Chief.
Avery Johnson.
It's just like Doom guy and Alien is what
Yeah.
Halo is.
It is straight up. Which is funny because like when Halo 1 was made, it wasn't like it wasn't this huge franchise. It's just
Yeah.
these like freaking nerds being like, I have a really cool idea for a game.
And it ended up being one of the coolest games of all time, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Well, and it also takes that like everything in Halo is like a proper noun.
Yeah.
It's like the Pillar of Autumn, or just like the Covenant, or the arc, you know. And I feel like that's also kind of Alien, like the engineers, whatever that original ship they find it in, but it is so directly linked to that series.
Yeah.
But the Alien franchise is one of the weirdest franchise ever.
It is really weird. It's very strange, and I feel like it's a lot of like,
especially when we watched the end of Covenant,
yeah,
where he sent down that whole plague down all the engineers on the planet. It goes from like scary alien on a spaceship to genocide of a planetary race.
It feels very, very like Avengers: Age of Ultron. You're like, oh, this is not the right vibe for an alien movie.
But think about what other franchise has. You have Ridley Scott does the first one, and then James Cameron does the second one, which both in their own right are incredible science fiction movies.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is super weird,
and
it's David Fincher, but it's like definitely one of his lesser films.
It wasn't a good movie. We can just say it.
Wasn't it also like it was David Fincher clashing with studio notes and stuff? Or like
100%
requirements.
I wonder if David Fincher is really the right guy for an alien movie. Also,
and then the fourth one is like a weird French
Resurrection
movie, and then it goes
like
back
Matrix
to Ridley
Resurrection?
Scott. Like it's a
wait.
Yeah.
Is there a thing about Resurrection being the title of the fourth movie? Matrix and Alien?
Ah!
Oh wow. Well, Matrix is Resurrections.
Fair.
It is. So that's the sequel to Alien, Matrix Resurrection,
Matrix Resurrections
and Matrix
2.
Resurrections 2.
But then like Prometheus it's almost kind of like a Force Awakens kind of reboot, but it would have fallen into that mold of like, oh, let's reboot. Like Alien Romulus should have been the fifth movie in a sense, where it's like, oh, let's reset it. But instead, Ridley Scott's like, actually, let's expand the lore in a really weird direction, which I thought was kind of cool. I like Prometheus, but then Alien Covenant was like a half step back where it's like, okay, it's Alien again, but we also have the black goo from Prometheus. And then Romulus was just like, we're just doing Alien again.
Yeah.
But Romulus was sweet.
I friggin' loved Romulus. I thought it was great. The main complaints I heard about Romulus is that it was too similar to the original Alien movies. It's like it took too many of the same elements and just remade them, kind of giving people the Force Awakens kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Whereas like, oh, it's the Star Wars you know and love, but we're telling it again.
It was the live action reboot of the first Alien.
And I don't think that's quite fair, to be honest, about Romulus. It's more just like the sort of aesthetic and vibe of it all. I don't know.
Have you seen the first Alien?
Yes, but and same with Alien 2, but it's been so long since I've seen them.
But
that
you just
like-
said Alien 2 as well.
Nico, you are infecting my mind.
He didn't say plural though. He said Alien 2, so technically that is aliens.
Ooh, snap. Thank you, Nico, for saving me. Yeah, I don't know. Romulus did also just did some things like here and there that I thought were just really fun moments. Everything from they treated facehuggers like actual giant spiders.
Oh yeah.
And that whole sequence where they're having to walk through the hallway with all the I keep wanting to call them head crabs around them, and they have to like keep their cool as crazy stuff is happening, and they're like, like that shot when he's got his phone up and like you could just see all of his pores open and like start sweating and the hairs on his arm rise as he realizes what's happening.
Yeah.
That was just such a cool shot.
Yeah, it was definitely, it's just like a great, really solid horror movie where it's like throughout the movie, you're just sitting there being like, oh, that's so clever. Oh, that's so clever. And it was a nice reset for the franchise, but I don't know. It's like, where do they kind of go from there? Because now it's almost, because almost the end of the movie, it was like they compressed Alien and Aliens into one movie. Because the end of the movie, suddenly there's a bunch of xenomorphs. And they're killing a bunch of xenomorphs. And there's like direct references to aliens. So it's like, how do you... Because they've already tried to expand the lore and nobody was into that. So now it's kind of, you're just stuck in this like...
Nobody liked that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Just call it. We did it.
Yeah. We actually do mention the Alien versus Predator movies in the React, but we don't look at them.
We don't look at them, so who knows if that little call out we did will actually even make it.
I think
the cut.
AVP or AVP2 was
The Apple Vision Pro.
directed by film or visual effects supervisors, former visual effects supervisors. It's one of those like parts of the industry where like, oh, VFX supervisors might be the next big wave of directors. And
And
a
then-
few years ago, it was stunt coordinators might be the next big wave of directors.
There was a period of time when you would get the VFX supervisors as directors, and if I remember correctly, they ended up the movies that came out of those sort of quests weren't that great. There were a few exceptions here and there.
Each one was like
Deadpool,
consistently like, oh, this movie looks so expensive for how little it costs, which is not.
which was very much the story of Deadpool.
Yeah, it's not a good way to go about trying to run a business. You'll love how cheap we are and how great our stuff looks. It's like,
I mean, that's one way to phrase it, as opposed to this visual effects supervisor working as the director understands how to implement visual effects into a movie, how to do it efficiently, which is the same thing as what you just said.
true, but then they're
Yeah.
like, oh, can you give me $100 million for 10? And then you're like, that sounds really hard. And they're like, okay, cool, but you can do it though, right?
It's
That's
like,
why we
I want
hired
a
you,
job,
right?
so yeah.
It's like, because you're just going to crunch. But yeah, I don't know. The reason James Cameron made Aliens 2 is why I want all sequels and remakes to exist.
Because it was born out of pure passion,
Yes.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's never going to be the case for like 99% of the things.
as
that are-
opposed to How to Train Your Dragon live action, which is ironically still mostly not live action.
yeah.
Like the Lion King live action is just another animated movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Lion King is like the peak. Like it's just another anime. Now, what if they actually did the live action version of the Asterisk live action
Wait, what do you
Lion
mean?
King?
Oh, you mean the theater
Oh
one?
my god!
Like,
Like just film lions
Yeah,
and do like Babe 2
yeah,
like
exactly.
approach where you
But
have
it's
it.
based off of the live action adaptation, not the original cartoon.
Well, I think they should do an animated adaptation of the live action Lion King, where they do a 2D animated adaptation of the live action Lion King.
When are we gonna get that?
That's gonna be crazy. They'll do it at some point.
I guess the question is, when are we going to get a remake of a Pixar film like Toy Story? Whether Pixar remakes it or it's shot live action. The other question is, when are we going to get the live action Nightmare Before Christmas?
Oh,
Like a
You
live.
just know. I each want to say, you just once you hear, it, you're like, yeah, it's happening.
But Toy Story, they're still. You know, they announced Toy Story 5,
They did, yeah.
so they're still going with.
I mean,
they
Toy
could
Story
just
4 was magical. Toy Story 3 was magical. Toy Story 2 was the worst of the whole sequence, and it wasn't a bad
How
film
dare
either.
you?
No, it's still a good movie.
How dare
It's still
you?
a great movie. They're all great movies.
That is the best one.
Toy Story 2 was just losing its identity a little bit, but it found it in Toy Story 3.
my favorite, I think, might be Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4
Toy
is
Story
very
4
good.
was very good. And honestly, the fifth one, like I was like, oh god, they're doing a fifth one. Like,
Nah,
and
they're gonna
then they
knock it out of the
showed.
park.
They just had to show one image, which is the toys all looking, and the little kid is holding an iPad, and it's like, oh, I get it. I was like, okay, they have an angle for this one,
yeah.
but
It's like, okay, I see. They found it. They found why.
See, Toy Story is how you do it. You just each one's a new story where it's like, yeah, this framing, when you look at this part of society, is a great framing to tell like these little fables, and like to return to that over and over for
Yep.
a different fable is great, rather than going back to the whole like, here's my old toy, here's my new toy.
Yeah.
It's Buzz Lightyear and Woody. Let's make that story happen again. Like,
You know, someone just mentioned in the comments, I actually think this is probably the most likely Pixar film to get adapted to live action, and that's The Incredibles.
yeah. Well, they
It's
are
a bunch of
doing.
humans,
They're already doing Moana.
and okay, fair. Again, another movie with a bunch of humans, as opposed to like live action Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
But
Just-
live action
probably not gonna
Incredibles, live action Incredibles is just the Fantastic Four, and they haven't.
Well,
been,
yeah,
they haven't
exactly.
been
That's
able
what I'm
to pull
saying.
that off.
And is The Incredibles so deeply loved and rewatched by children as to like warrant a remake?
I don't know.
So
Oh,
I
I
feel-
would say so. That's one
I
of
don't
the
know if
biggest
kids are like
movies.
constantly like watching Incredibles on repeat these days.
I guess. I think that's one of Pixar's biggest movies. No, because it's either that or like I guess the Toy Story films. It's like,
You know,
and
I'm
also
I think
curious.
Cars is one of the
Highest
biggest.
grossing-
oh
movies.
Cars.
Pixar
Yeah,
movies.
they've done like 12 Cars movies.
How successful Incredibles?
Because Incredibles 2 was a huge hit.
All right, here we go. Highest grossing Pixar movie, Inside Out 2.
Yeah, but that's
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, inflation.
yeah, inflation for
Wait,
sure.
wait, hold
dude.
on. I need to adjust for inflation. Otherwise, this is all bullshit.
Because Incredibles 2 is number 2.
All right, here we go. All right,
Man, that was 6
adjusted
years
for
ago.
inflation. Yeah, Screen Rant tried to throw me a BS one. Okay. Finding Nemo.
Yeah, for
is
sure.
Number 1.
Okay.
Number 2 is Incredibles 2, oddly enough. Number 3, Toy Story 3.
Ooh.
Then Finding Dory. Then Inside Out. Then The Incredibles. Then Monsters Inc. Up. Toy Story 2. Monsters U. Ratatouille. Coco. Toy Story. WALL-E. Cars 2 made a little more money than Cars. Brave. Bugs Life. Cars 3. We're getting down there now.
Yeah, we're getting into the. Oh,
Ooh.
I remember that.
Bottom of the list. Good Dinosaur.
Dang, Cars is a lot lower than I thought.
poor
I always
good
remember hearing
dinosaur.
Cars was like unusually high in like how well it did. I just remember always thinking, really? People like that? I was never a big fan of Cars, so I just remember being kind of confused by it.
Yeah, but now they're really dipping into their sequel era because I remember when they
Oh,
made the
man,
second
Titan
Cars.
AE.
Ooh, we got left out 2 more. Lightyear only
That-
made $234 million.
Well, that was also
Ooh.
a day and date streaming thing because it came out during COVID.
One more.
But it wasn't.
Which one
very
did I
good.
miss, you guys? I left one off the list.
Wait, let me
Uh,
think. Was it
No.
Outward or?
Oh, you're close.
What was? Oh, it was the Christmas movie came out. No, what? It wasn't a Christmas movie. It's
Christmas
Soul.
movie.
No, it was.
You said Soul.
Oh wait, Soul isn't on this list at all. That was well done. I don't know
Oh
where
yeah,
Soul is.
Soul.
So there's no numbers for Soul because it
It
was
was-
streaming.
Oh,
was
it
all
was
Disney
streaming
Plus.
only. Yeah.
But there was one called like
Dang.
You're so close. It's
Out-
Onward.
Onward.
Yeah,
That
that one
was
made
pretty-
$161 million.
That one they got the Pixar tears from me, man. That was
Which
a good
one
one.
was Onward?
It's like
It was
two brothers.
Chris Pratt and Tom Holland
Oh,
as like
yeah. I watched that one. I remember seeing that one.
yeah.
That one flopped.
Yeah.
I think it was another
Huh.
COVID thing. But yeah, I hope they keep doing original. Oh, and Luca.
Oh, Luca.
Luka Doncic?
That's
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, that's
Luka
another one.
Buddy
Doncic
Luka.
And
biopic.
Turning Red.
Turning
those are all-
Red.
they're all streaming only, so we don't have numbers for them.
And they were all great. Like Turning Red was awesome.
Man, you know,
Coco.
Coco's
wait.
on the list. I said Coco.
We said Coco.
Yeah, I said
Elemental?
Coco. Elemental's on
Ooh.
the list.
Elemental was the first one. Because Disney's looking at like Elemental versus Inside Out 2. They're
Well, I
like,
could see a live action Wall-E. See, Wall-E is something that
No.
I can see like obviously not live action quote unquote, but
Don't
just
put it
like the
out there.
graphics upgrade, the
don't
How to
put it
Train
in
Your
the
Dragon
universe, Ren.
treatment.
They're gonna do it if you say it, dude. Don't
I
say
can't
it.
just manifest that out of nothing.
I saw Wall-E and then I snuck into Wanted and watched Wanted right after watching Wall-E. And I came out of Wanted being like, Wall-E was not a good movie.
What?
Wanted
I think-
ruined Wall-E for me.
Wally's like the
what?
best Pixar
Yeah.
movie in my opinion.
I thought Wall-E was so like clunky compared to Wanted's like bullet curving gunfights.
You're like, this is sick.
Yeah, I came out of Wanted to be like, this is amazing.
Oh,
This
I
movie
was picturing a
rocks.
very different movie instead of Wanted. I was picturing Taken.
Oh, Taken's also a great movie. If I saw Taken after seeing Wall-E, I'd have the same impression of Wall-E.
Oh no.
I'd come out Taken and be
I
like,
don't know about that.
holy hell, this is a reinvention of action cinema. Wall-E, on the other hand, feels like a clunky fable. Watching Wall-E now, it's a great film. It's like expertly directed, but man, after
Wait, Jenna, you don't like Wall-E?
How dare you, Jenna? Wally is a masterpiece.
now she tunes in.
I feel
Okay.
like Wall-E's character design is like way too on the nose. It's like, well, we gave him big droopy eyes and just didn't do anything beyond that. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess.
She's
sure.
a little garbage bot, dude.
It's just literally like they like just drew like it's like painting the puppy dog face on your character permanently. It just felt a little too I don't know.
I
ham-fisted.
love robots and like robot designs.
Also, like the live action adaptation aspect of a CG movie. Like, imagine trying to do live action Toy Story 4. You would still achieve it mostly through visual effects. Maybe
Yeah.
the people you film as plates on a green screen because everything around is going to be CG. Because Toy Story 4 still has some of the best like texturing and shading.
Yeah, and physically based
Yeah,
like
and it's all like
it would look
hyper.
the same.
If you actually look at any single surface from Toy Story 4, it looks incredible and like so realistic. But at the same time, you never get fooled into thinking that it's not
Yeah.
real. You know?
I mean, honestly, the only difference would be making the human characters not stylized and just making them like real people.
But Toy Story 4, most of the humans aren't even really in the movie. It's mostly just
Yeah.
like the dolls and random other things. And
Toy Story 4 is one of the most beautiful 3D renders I've ever seen.
It-
And they look
100%.
photoreal. Like the VFX
exactly.
would
I
just
guess that's
be
my point.
Pixar would do the VFX for the live action Toy Story movie.
It
Yeah.
all looks just like unrealistically realistic in a way that especially the way they're simulating the lenses and everything is just like so photographically based.
It's so
I
screwed
guess the only
up
thing
that
so why does it always still feel like it's obviously an animated film? Like
'Cause-
that shot of Woody there, like look at pause there. Oh dang.
I bet all those shaders are hand programmed by the artists at Pixar.
Yeah.
Oh, they
meaning
are
that-
100%.
yeah.
There's like research papers about how they texture stuff to look so realistic.
So it's
Well,
just
and
the shader programming is just like dialed in to be perfectly almost photoreal, but not quite.
Yeah, and it's almost like the whole universe has a toy-like quality, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's doing the toy-like quality photorealistically, and
Yeah.
I don't know how to define the vibe. Where it's like, okay, obviously this looks CG, but at the same time, every individual surface looks photorealistic. The lens simulation and how it's doing bokeh and fringing and whatever.
It's almost like they still give it that hint of like universal ambient light that like old Maya renders had.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
know?
that's an interesting challenge for like the Toy
maybe
Story
it's
as
the
a franchise.
modeling.
Because the first movie, they can't make it look completely different than the first movie.
Right.
But the first movie is that style, is that like just really ambient kind of like old school 3D render style.
yeah.
So
then
they still have to make it fit into that world.
once they go into the antique store, it just becomes 100% photoreal. But yeah, before that, you there's that sense of like the shaders are really nice and the like lens emulation and like high dynamic range lighting is perfect. But like the actual like shading of things, like the shadows, it feels like it's not quite physically based. Like it's still a little bit stylized.
I
in how
feel like the
calculation's done.
Lego movie weirdly looks more realistic.
It does, I agree. But they're also like they're not putting fingerprints. They're not putting imperfections in. There's no dust. Like
Right.
it doesn't
there,
have any
in
of
some
those.
shots. There's definitely like dust. Like
In some
we
shots.
we just saw a shot where they were walking through the thing, and there's a amazing shot of a bunch of dust accumulated on the ground there.
Yes, but not in the same
like
way.
right here. And the next shot right after this one,
But I think
Uh,
Nico's saying like the
look at the dust on the
that's
ground.
amazing. That's
that looks like a photo.
it does 100%. But I mean, more like other characters, like in Lego Movie, you see like the imperfections of like the plastic molding.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, they're not doing
Yeah.
that to like Woody.
Yeah, like they're perfectly shiny. They don't have thumbprints and
Which I guess is part
scratches.
of what brings back that sort of Pixar aesthetic.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Well, guys, this is we're kind of getting to that point, aren't we?
We are. You know what? I said a lot of critical things of movies, and it's weird because I used to like be like, whatever, I can say whatever I want. And now it's like, oh, well, the people that work on these things now listen to our podcast and watch our shows. So I'm going to say one nice thing about each project I said one mean thing about.
Oh, whoa, okay.
One critical thing. I really enjoyed Jared Hess's movies, and the Minecraft trailer does look fun and funny. And it's probably a really good time to watch, even if the art style doesn't jive
hope
with
so.
me.
Yeah.
And what else was I harsh on? Aliens 3. I haven't actually seen it. So I'm just repeating hearsay.
He's not apologizing. He's just trying to say additional nice things. Now,
Controversial
Wally,
opinion.
Wally.
David Fincher's a
Wally.
good director.
Oh yeah, there you go. David Fincher, actually a good director. Wally. What good things can I say about Wally? It's actually a pretty charming movie and decently well made. But I liked Wanted better. But that's just because that's the kind of guy I am. You know, art
Yeah.
is subjective.
Deserves a rewatch.
Was that it? Were those the things I was mean
Yeah,
too?
might as well.
Is that it? Oh yeah, Alien Covenant. The effects are great. Even if I wasn't down for the whole like world scale demolition thing in an alien movie. I thought still it was a pretty sweet scene and looked cool.
Wait, how do you say Wally?
Wally.
Huh.
Wally. Okay.
Oh, like
there you go.
actually, Wally says. I thought she was talking about you.
Shit sandwich complete.
Yum.
Compliments on tops and bottom. Negativity in the middle. Whale.
Well, thanks for watching or listening wherever you're listening or watching from. And we'll see you in the next video. I guess we might not have a podcast next week because it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think we're
That's
gonna
true.
take
We
next
won't
week
have a
off.
podcast next
So come back in a couple weeks and we'll see you there.
Yeah. Come
All
join us on the website if you're listening, because we do a hangout, which we're about to jump into right now, and talk about more things. And usually we get a little spicier than we do on YouTube. It's a good time. Exclusive content.
All right.
Thanks, YouTube and
3,
Spotify.
2, 1. Bye. Ah! I didn't do it right.